As of this recording, Klay Thompson is only averaging 14.4 points per game, and this would be his lowest scoring output since his rookie season in 2011-12 season, where he averaged 12.5 a ball game. Aside from that, his overall shooting of 40.3% and his three-point efficiency of 34.5% are on pace for career lows as well. As a Warriors fan, is it now the time to push the panic button, or is this just a pace that Klay normally goes through every season? After sitting out the entire 2019-20 season because of a torn ACL and then rupturing his right Achilles in the following year, who would have thought that Klay Thompson would be able to pull off a comeback for the ages in the 2021-22 season when he grabbed his fourth championship that year, despite coming off back-to-back injury seasons? And last season, his road to redemption continued as he ended with 21.9 points on 43, 41, and 87 shooting splits, while being the NBA's undisputed king of splash with a career high of 301 three-pointers made. However, with 14 games into the new season, it seems that Klay has regressed big time and is now undergoing a major shooting slump. Well, in this video, I'll be doing a deep dive into Klay's recent offensive struggle and talk about the possible repercussions for the Dubs if he can't get out of this shooting funk anytime soon. Now, the good thing though is that Klay has been in the same situation many times before, and there's a big chance that he can shake out the bad juju as the season progresses. Around the same time last year, Klay was also struggling to hit his shots. He tallied a true shooting percentage of 47.1%, and out of the 164 qualified players who attempted at least 100 shots last season, that was actually the fourth worst, which only ranks behind Jabari Smith Jr., James Bouknight, and Killian Hayes. On top of this, he only averaged 19.3 per game during this stretch. But see, after the month of November, Klay had a scoring explosion and went unhinged in both January and February when he put out better shooting numbers across the board. So based on this, we can expect Klay to bounce back from this shooting slump. And according to his recent statement, he's quite confident he'll get his groove on eventually, which is a good sign if you're a Warriors fan. Now, nonetheless, I think Klay's recent shooting slump is still something to worry about. And one of the root causes of this is that he's simply missing some three-pointers, which he normally makes in his sleep. While Steph and Looney are doing a two-man game on the right wing, Draymond sets up Klay on the weak side with a nice screen. But despite how wide open he is, and has plenty of time to gather, Klay just front rims it. Speaking of wide open shots, Klay is usually automatic from mid-range, and even though there are literally no white shirts around him, Klay came up short again from 15 feet. And I'm not used to seeing this. But Klay has been drawing air as of late, because he's still firing it, even if the defender is already all over him. While Klay is hitting a decent 7 of 14 this season, when there was no defender within 6 feet during the time of the shot, he's been horrible when defenders inch closer to guard him within 4 to 6 feet, as he only shot 7 of 36, which is only 19.4% if you convert it. And this is a significant drop from the 42.3% clip that he registered last season. Now, it's not that he's only making wide open shots and bricking everything else, because according to advanced stats, he's also hit 11 of 22 or 50% of his shots when defenders are within 2 and 4 feet, which means the Klay can still hit some shots if there's a guy bothering him, but on the flip side, it's not on a consistent basis. Anyway, the only point that I'm making here is that Klay has had stretches from previous seasons where he has shot similarly poorly, or actually even worse, but time and time again, he's been able to weather the storm and come stronger out of it. But despite this, it doesn't mean we aren't seeing some real signs of regression in other areas for Klay, especially this season. Now, the next reason why he's really struggling right now offensively has something to do with the restrictions on his movements. After undergoing 2 major surgeries on his knee and Achilles, it's quite obvious that Klay has lost a step, and while he's not an explosive athlete, he's just a step too late this season, and the springs on his legs are significantly lessened compared before. This hurts his ability to create a separation for his jumper. As you can see here, he just pushed his defender instead of doing a step back, and because he wasn't able to create the gap, his defender was able to contest his shot, which resulted in a miss. In this closeout, Klay would go to his sweet spot and knock down the elbow jumper, but since he's a bit slow now, Dort is able to keep in step with him, and then SGA is able to close the distance to block his shot coming from the help side. Now, when driving, Klay is also having a hard time finishing, and even though he had a clear runway here, he completely botched the layup big time because his legs don't have the same lift as before. As you see in the previous clips, Klay is incredibly ineffective at creating separation this season, and he's also having difficulties scoring from closeout due to his limited mobility caused by his prior injuries. In addition, his defenders are also easily catching up to him now while he's running off screens because he's not as fast or springy as before, and this has also indirectly contributed to his shooting slump as of late. Well, aside from the things I just mentioned, the effects of his injuries have also limited his ability to defend at a high level on the other side of the ball. I mean, there was a time when Klay was locking people up night in and night out, and he was once recognized as one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. So much so that he became part of the second-team All-Defense selection in 2018 to 2019 season. But unfortunately, those days are gone now, as he keeps getting blown by and burned by secondary scorers like Jalen Williams, for instance, this season. So after Williams sizes up Klay, he doesn't only allow him to go to his strong side, but Williams also puts him on skates before laying it in. And in this pick and roll, look at how Klay slowly rotated in the middle, which allowed Williams to penetrate and finish all the way through with a tough layup. In terms of defense, he has literally lost a step, as his lateral movements are not as quick as before, and while he's still a decent defender, he cannot defend at an elite level anymore, although there are still some spurts, which showed that he can still get solid stops when needed. Anyway, as the season goes along, I think Klay will overcome his shooting woes, just like what he has done in the last couple of seasons. Shooters gotta shoot, as they say. And to me, this is the only way for Klay to get out of the shooting slump and eventually get his rhythm back offensively. After averaging just 11 points on 30.9% shooting from the field and 28.2% on 3 seconds during their 6-game losing streak, Klay had a solid bounce-back game against Houston when he scored 20 points on 5 of 11 shooting from 3. This is a great first step heading back to normalcy for Klay, and this is something the Dubs need from him on a nightly basis. He doesn't need to score 30 every night, but somewhere around 18 to 23 points will do the trick in my opinion, just so the Dubs can keep up offensively against other teams with 2 or more scorers. It's still early to sound the alarm bells for Klay with just 14 games in, and for now, the Dubs just have to be patient with Klay, because the moment he finds his groove back, we all know that he can light up 40 to 50 points in a heartbeat, especially when he's in the zone.